Going live now.
Welcome to Season 6 of the Long-Winded One podcast. This is Spoiler Sessions, LitRPG, the only show where spoilers don't spoil anything. We're digging into fan theories, side characters, and the lore authors left in the drawer.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Spoiler Sessions with the Long-Winded One. And with me tonight, I have a guest, Ryan Maxwell, who wrote Grand System Vending. And we will probably, for the rest of this chat, call it GSV, just so that I don't get tongue twisted here. So Ryan, I just want to introduce the podcast for a little bit. I'm going to do a little intro for you, and then we're going to have a nice conversation. How does that sound?
It sounds perfect.
Great. All right. So Pop's in the chat already. Hello, Pop. And I have to remind myself, Ryan, as this is my first season doing a live on YouTube, to read the chat for the people who are watching, because they may watch it after the fact. So feel free to chime in if I miss anything. But I do want to just talk about the format this season. So this is season 6 of the podcast, and this one is called Spoiler Sessions, and we're focused specifically on authors' unwritten lore, unused scenes, side characters, fan theories, and I'm really going to try very hard to keep it to 30 minutes because I can talk for a really long time, as can usually the people that I interview. So that is going to be the topic. People have different kinds of comfort levels with quote unquote spoilers. And so these episodes are really, Ryan, for your fans, people who have seen your book out there, who may have read the synopsis online, who want to read it and don't mind a little bit of spoilers. We don't want to give too much away, but we really want to take this to kind of a deeper level for your true fans. Does that sound good?
Yep, that sounds great.
Well, Ryan, you are, when I made the foray into Facebook this year, mostly to just connect with the people in the LitRPG community, and it's been fantastic. And in doing research for this podcast, I discovered that you are a dog lover, a father of 3 like myself. You're a Texan, unlike myself, but you also work in IT or EdTech, just like me. And so it is my pleasure to have you here tonight and to talk about GSV. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very, very pleased to get to be here as well. I love to get to be on these things to integrate more with the community as well. I'm in the same way you are. I was a lover of LitRPG before I was even an author. So it's a great way for me to get to also be more entrenched with the community.
Well, you have a series out called GSV, Grand System Vending, and you have 2 books out right now in the series. Book 1 is called Apocalypse, and book 2 is called War. There is a book 3, I believe, right, on Royal Road.
Correct. It's on Royal Road currently. I have to pull that down for too long though, because I know we're going to be moving that out probably in the next couple months, I would assume. We were about 2 months between the first and second, and then I believe it'll probably be about the same for the third. I'll have more details when I talk a little bit more with my publisher about that.
Gotcha. And your publisher is Legion, is that correct?
Correct. The Legion Publishers. That's who I'm with.
Okay. And just for all the people watching live and watching after the fact, please know as of right now, beginning of December, book 1 is out on, you can get the paperback, Kindle, and the audio on Audible. Is that correct, Ryan?
That's correct. Yes.
And Steve Campbell is the narrator for that. And I believe you guys are recording book 2 right now. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We've already started into it, and Steve's made some great progress on getting that done. And I believe I believe February 3rd is the date that's been given to me so far for when we will be releasing the audio for that one, because it does need a little time to get through the editing and through Audible's process before it's live as well.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Well, tell us about GSV. Tell us what, of course we could look and read the synopsis or go on Royal Road and look at the categories, but what genre would you say that GSV is in?
So GSV is in the LitRPG genre for sure. We have the crunchy stats with the characters getting powers, system being involved, but it's the subgenre that I usually most liken it to is post-apocalyptic within that system, because it happens on Earth. So it's not isekai where someone's dragged to another world or dies and comes back to life somewhere, but it happens directly on Earth.
I was yes. So like a Hitchhiker's Guide almost, right? Like this stuff is happening to Earth, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Wonderfully crunchy is what Pop says in the chat.
Yes.
And I believe he has ordered basically everything that could be ordered for your book series. I saw that post today online.
That does appear to be the case. Yes, Pop loves these books for sure, and I love Pop. So that's I think that's a match made in heaven right there. Pop and Grand System Vending.
So let's I want to get to those four things that I mentioned we're going to talk about, but before that, could you give like a 10,000 foot view of the story, just to set the scene for what we're going to talk about?
Absolutely. Grand System Vending is a story about again, post-apocalyptic. So starts out with some characters on Earth. Starts out with two friends, very, very fast introduces the third, who are my main group of guys, because I wanted this written from a perspective of a group of people, not just one MC that you followed around the whole time. Primarily because my prose with writing scenes out with the show don't tell method is not quite as good as my dialogue is. So I definitely focused on a dialogue driven story. But the main idea is that there's a group of aliens who are the admins for the system, and all of the galaxy is up for being integrated into the Grand System, which is where Grand System Vending came from. And it's just later just called the system throughout the book because nobody wants to keep typing the full name of everything out. And then, but these admins noticed that humans on Earth were fascinated with vending machines, and whereas with a little bit of lore, typically they would put in races who had been integrated from other planets onto the world to be like shopkeepers. But they noticed since the Earthlings loved vending machines so much, that it was going to be so much easier to set up every vending machine on Earth as a miniaturized automated storefront where you can buy all your survival gear now. You can buy spells, you can buy skill books, you can buy weapons, you can buy, if it existed on Earth at any time, it is for sale for a price. So, I mean, people have asked me some wild questions about things you could buy, and I'm like, absolutely. I don't know how much it would cost. Probably a lot more than you've earned killing goblins. But yeah, so you can buy literally anything you want from the vending machines. But then, because of the mana core being placed in Earth, it has now introduced, obviously, mana and magic into the world. And because concentrated areas of mana, because they have concentrated areas of ambient mana, anywhere that it gets strong enough, monsters appear. So it just literally spawns monsters out of magic. And so now people are having to fight for their lives because there's never been mana here before, and there's really nothing that sucks up mana at this point because humans can't use magic until they've been integrated. So monsters just start spawning everywhere on the planet, and it's pure chaos. And this team of friends has to try to survive in this new world, and they're the kind of people who are also compassionate towards others. So they're also trying to help as many other humans as possible in this area. And then it goes further into the main plot of the story, which is there's a big glitch with the system that is causing the machines to give the wrong items out to people based on their class, because the machine will give you a selection based on your class. So, and people trusting this have bought the wrong items and ended up dying, not directly in the people that they know, but they tell some tales of people who bought, like a wizard who bought a great hammer and went into a dungeon and was killed because he's squishy and things like that. So they now have to go figure out what the source of this problem is and try to put a stop to it. And that's the main plot for book 1, which then progresses into a war in book 2 between some factions and another villain that I've introduced there. And then into book 3, where the villains for book 3 are introduced in book 1, which is there's space pirates coming to invade the planet. They have information on new planets getting inducted into the system, and they rush to those places to steal resources from those new planets because they know that they're weak and vulnerable with the new integrations in the system. So they have to figure out what's going to happen with that and how they can prepare and what can be done when that happens in there as well.
Well, there's so much there that if this was a regular season for me that I would want to delve into, particularly, the idea that the dialogue that you write is rich and strong. And on that note, we have a mystery guest here. Yes. Hello, mystery guest. You're muted right now, mystery guest. But I thought maybe you would like to say hi to Ryan.
Hello.
Well, thank you for joining us, mystery guest. Is there anything that you might be able to comment on when it comes to that dialogue Ryan is talking about?
IKEA my ass.
Yeah, he guessed right away. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I should have thought more about trying to disguise my voice or do a different thing. The problem is that Ryan has listened to me do so many different friggin' voices and goof around with so much stuff that I don't know if I'd be able to come up with something new that would be able to fool him at this point.
Well, everyone online, this is Steve Campbell, and they're the narrator extraordinaire to GSV, which is why I was talking about the dialogue. And Steve, you're just in time for us to really delve into the 4 categories that we are going to dive into tonight. Ryan just gave kind of a top level view, actually a really nice top level view of his book series. Ryan, are you good if we kind of delve right in there?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first topic is, and we're about halfway through, so this is generally the way that it goes. And before I comment, I just want to say that Pop says, "Oh, good Lord, Jared and his mystery guests." Yes, that's what it's all about. It's all about community here, folks. So we try to get as many people involved as we can. So this first kind of topic that we want to talk about is the unwritten lore. And we have 2 things we're going to talk about here, and that is the way that the magic works and the way that spell creation happens.
Yes. So the magic was a difficult thing for me to kind of wrap my head around, because you want something that's kind of unique to your world, but at the same time, there's so many tens of thousands of books that have been written with magic in them to describe how it works. It kind of just muddles together. But the main idea is that, again, ambient magic exists, and in this world there was none, but there's a mana generator now that creates that. So a user who has magical abilities is able to gather that into their cores, and it acts similarly to how, in my opinion, how a lot of cultivation is used, where you can move the mana throughout your body. You have a mana network that runs through your system, similar to blood vessels. You could think of it that way. And then there are different areas in your body that are used to power different types of spells. So, fire magic is from the groin. Earth magic is from the stomach. And so honestly, I didn't make these up. This is where a lot of the chakras actually come from in those, in some of that ways. There's what is it? Is it earth magic is in the heart, and wind magic is in either the throat or the lungs, et cetera, et cetera. But these different areas utilize those different aspects to create that magic that's then forced out through the mana channels into the spells that they have to use. Via incantations, which Steve loves my incantations, and
so much.
And there's combined hand gestures for those as well. And then the spell creation, where if the user has a certain amount of intelligence, they're allowed to actually modify spells to create their own. So I have like a one instance in book 2 for sure where that comes up, where Tom, my main character, is dual casting a single spell and then able to combine them into one, but it's incredibly dangerous to try to integrate these magics into one, because it's taking two volatile, strong, powerful pieces of magic, and then he's literally just cramming them together in this instance. And there's supposed to be kind of a perfect setup where you're concentrating on how this works and doing it, but he has no idea what he's doing. He's angry at this moment and ends up going through using almost sheer willpower to create these new spells, and he ends up creating something that's way more powerful than even the dual casting of the spell originally was. And you get to name the new spell if it is brand new. So he has to be careful, because he had a Dragon Ball Z moment where he just yelled out one of their moves, and that became the name of the spell.
Of course, so. Yeah. A narrator who doesn't know what he's doing. Come on now. So I want to hear from Steve for just a second about these incantations. That sounds very interesting. Steve, you have any comment on that?
Well, it was more in book one. I know we're working on book two right now, so there's going to be some more stuff coming up. But it was like he integrated Latin with shit, and then I have to try and figure out how to, how to pronounce it, find something to make sure that it's like I'm not mispronouncing something that's already known, and then work on pronouncing it not only like as an individual word, but then string all those words together, and how do they flow as a unit, because sometimes words change if they're combined with another word. You know what I mean? Like if you have a sentence, the flow of the way that you would say each one of those words individually is different than if you string them together, and how they would flow that way. And then trying to do that while then sounding natural, like it's something that I've done every day, because you can have, sometimes you have characters where you have permission to stumble through it because they're learning the spell already, right? Like they're new to it. They're trying to figure it out. So they're not going to sound immediately natural and normal in the way it's supposed to go. And it's going to be difficult and challenging for them to get those words out because they've never done it before. So they're trying. So you have that permission as a narrator to not be awesome at it. But Ryan, in his infinite wisdom, just had Tom go through this out-of-body experience where he doesn't even realize what he's saying, but it just flows out of him, almost like a different, unique, ethereal voice, and just magically flows out so perfectly and seamlessly that I'm like, fuck. Okay. Oh, am I allowed to swear? I should have.
You're allowed to swear.
Okay.
And I want to acknowledge some of these comments. So Jay and Keith are in the chat as well. Keith, good to see you again. I haven't seen you since LitRPG Con. Jay says, Steve works so damn hard on this series, some of his best work to date. I thought you would like to hear that.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well,
I think he's just saying that because he's excited that he got a voice in this book, and I could have really screwed him over with the voice I chose for Jay Braz in the book. And when we were picking voices for characters, when Podium approached me to do this book, they gave me a list of these are some of the characters, these are some of the people. Are you comfortable doing this? Is this something that you'd be interested in doing? And I was like, oh, wow, this is really cool. But I'm not an impressionist. So if you're looking for an impression of all of these people, that is not something that I do. And they came back and they said, no. The author, is totally aware of that and just wants you to give a feeling or an essence of these characters. But yeah, you don't have to do an impression of them. And I was like, okay, then I'm good. But then you have to come up with how do you figure out how to do the essence of Jay Braz or Kira is, Geneva. And so there's all these different, and Brian Norden, another author who has a larger role in the book as Brian and you're like, okay, how's this going to work? Especially when I met Brian at DragonCon a few years back and we were talking and I showed him, he said something, we were talking about accents or whatever. And I said something in an Irish accent and he's like, that was a fucking horrible Irish accent. And I was like, oh shit. So now The funny thing is then I was talking with, and I don't know if he was being nice, but Jack Fields and I were chatting and we joked about that. And he's like, well, let me hear your Irish accent. And I'm like, I'm not doing that again with someone who's Irish. And he's like, no, it's fine. And then he's like, that's actually pretty good. And Gary Furlong and I have joked about it. And so it's just Brian who's just like, no, that's not. And I know that there's a lot of different Irish dialects and stuff, so clearly my Irish dialect was not one that he preferred.
Or maybe that particular phrase might not have been.
Yeah, maybe it was just bad. I don't even remember specifically what I said.
Well,
maybe it was nervous.
Brian is also a self-proclaimed asshole, so
yeah, that's true.
We have to give that as well.
Well, we have Jay and Keith arguing in the chat about Jay being a badass Cajun cowboy, and Keith said, "Isn't that what you are every day?" I think that's what your picture is, Jay. By the way, as some sort of cowboy. But anyway, I want to move us on to the next question because we could probably be here for 2 hours talking about this. But as the second and last piece of unwritten lore is the idea of the patrons, right? Of which we're going to talk about one later. So the patrons and the gods / deities. Do you want to take us off, Ryan?
Sure. So there's kind of a hierarchy of those groups, and all of them are not what humans would normally have thought of when we use the word God, of course, as we see in most genres, in my opinion, or not most genres, in most books in this genre, that gods are just exceptionally powerful beings that have kind of transcended the whole time and space aspect of mortality. So those do exist. They're referenced pretty insignificantly within the book. That's why I was like, I think that's a good piece of lore, of unwritten lore in there. It's mentioned that there are gods, and it's mentioned that they're not, all powerful, beings like we would think of the Christian God or the Judeo God or the Muslim God. But they are beings who just they've reached immortality. They're exceptionally powerful, and they would be a horrible thing to end up having to deal with. But most of them are kind of either slightly, I don't know if it's like a cross between benevolence and uncaring. They just the pleas or day-to-day life of mortals is just so far beyond what they deal with on a regular basis that it's unimportant. Mm-hmm. But patrons are kind of like minor deities in this instance. They're extremely powerful. They also pass through the shell of mortality into a being that can exist so many millennia. They're just basically considered immortal, and they are involved in a lot of lives because they are, specifically with warlocks, that's where they get their power from. Is patrons get their powers from the warlocks themselves, with whatever pact they create with them. So it's cool to see some of those characters brought up. I dive a lot more into that in book 3. So we won't spoil a lot of what happens with some of those in there. And there was an actual story told within that little, 1 chapter long story about some patron wars that happened from Tom's patron at the time.
Nice. Well, I want to take us right into one of the side characters that you mentioned people are going to want to know about, and that's Azrock. Right. And that's Tom's warlock patron, who seems to get pretty heavily involved, right? Like, mm-hmm. I don't want to give anything away, but do you want to talk about Azrock real quick?
Sure. So Azrock is turned out to be a lot of people's like top 2 or top 3 favorite characters in the entire book. He's funny, he's crude, he really doesn't care about a lot of people. When he's introduced at first, he barely even cares about Tom, but again, he's they're still kind of like a sales pitch to a patron to get them to sign up with them and follow what they need to do. But over time, Azrock actually comes to really like Tom because of his attitude and the people that he's with and the way he treats others. So we do end up showing another side of Azrock beyond just the giant asshole who knows he's better than everybody else and looks down on people, to the point that he even kind of verbally defends Tom a couple of times from some people in throughout the series. As well as in book 3 specifically, again, not giving away a lot of spoilers for these since it's not out yet, but book 3, there's a whole other side where Azrock gets to spend a couple or a few chapters with Tom in his guild, going through, right. and you get to see a whole other side of that patron that going through there as well.
I mean, it seems like maybe he does some things that are very unpatron-like in some ways, right? Like, again, I want to delve into more, but tell us about the other character that that you mentioned that I was curious about was Kira. And then Steve, if you want to chime into any of this, please, just do it. So Kira was interesting to me because of her whole relationship to the master. So would you tell us about Kira a little bit?
Yeah. So Kira is, I introduced her very early in the book as well. She was like a rock and roll bitch. I don't know what the correct term for that is, but she was a lead singer in a band before the apocalypse happened, and then she found her way into the guild just a little before it was formed, and became one of the founding members in that group. She is my inspiration from her is actually Geneva Agnes. So that's who I based a lot of her personality around. Does
she know this?
She does know this. Yes. Okay. She's known this since before I even put it out first on Royal Road. I always ask people before I base characters on them, because I don't want anybody to be offended, upset, or blindsided by something that happens to a character or whatever the case is. So yes, they definitely all know that I've put them in there.
Ryan did, because Ryan's been hanging out as I record these in my Discord live. And so he kind of blindsided me a bit, because he knew I was stressed about doing these voices for these characters, that these people know that they're these characters, even though they're not named, some of them. And so he messaged Geneva when I was working on figuring out who Kira's voice would be, and said, get in here right now. He's working on your voice. And so as I'm trying to figure it out, all of a sudden Geneva pops into the Discord, and I'm like, oh shit, there's some extra pressure. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Well, at least it wasn't an Irish accent,
Yeah. Yeah, thankfully.
No, but Geneva fell in love with the voice. She's like, actually, this is now my internal monologue voice going forward, because it was sexy at the time. And she's like,
well, because we were joking, we're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with this voice. And then I think you said something about make it sexy. And so I dropped it down and gave a little bit of a husk to her voice, so that she'd be like, okay, yeah, so now she's down here. And Geneva was like, oh, I like that. I like that a lot. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, we have Kira's voice. So
well, we have a few comments here in the chat. Jay says Azrock is the best. And then I think Pop is commenting on that. And then Azrock loves kids. He's a softie. And Steve, your Brian voice is perfection.
The Irish.
Yeah. Well, so there's a lot of characters that we could talk about. Before we go on to some fan theories here, Steve, when you and I were talking, you mentioned two of the characters that you mentioned, other than Tom, was Derrick and James. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you wanted to say about those two characters? You told me in private kind of what you like about those characters. Right. Do you want to repeat that here?
Sure. Yeah. And it's Ryan and I have talked about this, and I think we've mentioned it in a different live, but one of the things that I appreciated so much about Ryan's writing and what he's done with these characters in the story is allowing them to be guys, but guys who are there for each other in the most male way that there is, which is, I'm here to support you. I love you, but you're a fucking douchebag. And I love you, bro. And then moving on, right? Like they're there emotionally, and like they see the need, and they're like, hey, I'm here for you. We're in this together, and you're a dick. Okay, let's go. And so they throw in that little bit of like machismo, kind of like, we're not going to get too mushy here, so let's pepper it with, toilet humor or, a bunch of dick jokes, and then, do what we need to do. But it lightens that moment, right? Where, as Ryan says so often about gallows humor, right? Like they're in the middle of a war, they're battling, and this is horrific stuff. And so sometimes it can get so overwhelming to the point where I don't even know what to do anymore. And there's some really dark places that Tom gets to, especially towards the end of book 1 and in the beginning of book 2, that he's lost. He doesn't know what to do, and he's feeling so out of sorts that you're like, this guy's like, he's ready to pull a Kaladin on a cliff, right? And so the guys managed to rally around him and say, like, we're here, we love you, we support you, and you're a loser, or fuck you. And then he laughs and jokes, and okay, and then it kind of brings some levity to the whole thing, and then they're able to like keep moving on, right? So that's one of the things I appreciated about his writing, is that it mimics so often what has happened in my life with a lot of the friends that I've had as guys, where you know that they have your back, and yet at the same time, they're the ones that give you the hardest time about some dumb thing that you did or something stupid that you said, and they don't ever let you forget it. And they laugh and tease you, but you know it's in good fun.
Well, and you need those guys in your life,
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
honest. Accountability, yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm going to bring us on to the next thing. But before I do, Keith says that what you're talking about now is one of the best parts of learning this series. Okay, so I'm going to make us pick. We had two things in fan theories that we were going to talk about, and Ryan, I'm going to let you pick which of those two things you want to, because we're getting short on time. So do we want to do the impact the system has had on this world, or dragons?
Ooh, I think we should do dragons, because impact of the system is definitely talked about a lot throughout the series. So I think you can get a pretty good picture of that just by reading the book. So go buy the books. But dragons in this is something that's not really seen throughout the series hardly at all. Like, I mentioned it 2 times in the entire 3-book series that I have coming out right now. I've got more books to write in the series later. Just got to see how that's going to pan out after the first 3 come out. But dragons are not seen in this world right now. So a lot of times, everybody, when you think of fantasy, it's like the top 3 things you think of are magic, dragons, and adventuring, usually of some kind, which includes fighting and all that other stuff. So there is, in book 3, there's a mention where a dragon flies overhead. That's really all it's talked about in there. And they see it, and everybody stops because you hear this giant roar. It's way up in the sky. It looks like what you'd see an eagle flying really high up in the air, and then flees off into the distance. And as they saw that, they are given a quest by the system, which is incredibly rare to see have happened here. You can get some quests occasionally from helping out people or going through things in the dungeons, but this is like one of 2, maybe 3 times in the entire series that they're given a quest by the system about something, and one of them is literally the end of the world. So this other one is just dragons. So it seems quite important. They should maybe look into that at some point. And we kind of end book 3 is with a little bit of a soft ending, where they're talking about going to investigate what they saw at the beginning, now that they've kind of dealt with the issues that have been happening in the other books so far. So dragons are they're not native to Earth, obviously, and it's something that's brought up a lot. I actually have finished book 4, but I just have to go back and edit it. But there is a lot of things that happen with this that kind of talk about the timeline of Earth, with how there used to be something before the system, or before there was no system, before everything was blank and dull and bleak, and there was no mana or anything like that that existed before then, that was kind of like beta system-esque, that may have been abandoned at the time, which is why Earth was left alone for so long. And dragons played a huge part in that. I'd have to go look at the name of the book 4 again. I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's basically based off of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Oh, cool.
So I'm trying to use another thing of this, but instead of that, it's dragons. So
yeah,
that's a cool thing to have for book 4.
Jay says, I know a secret about that dragon. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we are. I'm trying to do my best to keep to that 30-minute time frame. Most, I guess, commuters listen to podcasts about the average consumption time is about 22 minutes. So I'm even pushing it for the 30 minutes. But as you can see, we can't actually do a podcast in less than 30 minutes. So, before we leave though, I want to ask both of you, where people can find you online and what you have coming out here in the next few, weeks or months.
Sure. The best way to find me and my works is on Amazon. You can type in Grand System Vending is the best thing to search for right now. That should be one of the top few items that are in there. It'll probably bring up some actual sales for vending machines, as I found, but it's pretty easy to tell which one's the book and which one's the actual machine. So yeah, checking it out on Amazon. Book 1 is on Audible. Book 2 is coming because we have been working on that already, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. Steve doesn't always have so much fun with it, but I have tons of fun.
It's fun for everybody else, though, I'm sure.
It absolutely is. Every comment that I've gotten on this is that Steve has made this better. So all my props go to Steve for the work that he's put into this. It's been absolutely astounding to that. So Audible, Grand System Vending, and Amazon. And I'm on Facebook as Ryan Maxwell author as well. Anybody can reach out to me at any time. Feel free to send me a Facebook message or whatever. I love getting to talk to people.
That's awesome. He'll even talk to random podcast producers. So Steve, what about you? I know you do some live recording, it sounds like, on Discord. Tell us all about that.
I do. Well, I have been a little bit more inconsistent about it, but I'm trying to get back into being more consistent about it, of live streaming my recording sessions. So a lot of people really enjoy, I've had a number of times when I'm able to do bloopers at the end of books, and it's been a highlight for them to get to do bloopers. And one of the things that Ryan pointed out is that even though we didn't put bloopers at the end of this book, if you hang out in the Discord, you hear all the bloopers and more while we're recording, and there is
my favorite part.
There's a lot of them. So on Discord, I have links to the Discord and all my other stuff on like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's usually all under Steve Campbell VO. And so if you look up Steve Campbell VO, that's me on just about every social media platform. And then you can find links to everything that you need from there. And then as far as stuff that's coming out and things that I'm working on, obviously Grand System Vending is taking up a big portion of my time. I'm also, as soon as I'm finished book 2 of Grand System Vending, I'm burning on to book 3 of Discount Dan, which is one that is really going to be crazy. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in that series, so that's fun. And then rolling right into book 3 of Industrial Strength Magic after that. And that's been a long time coming, and I'm very excited to have that be back in my portion again, because it's... okay, I'll try and do that. So yeah, those are the 3 that I'm. Oh, and I just finished. I finished recording just before I started Grand System Vending. Was book 5 in Second Chance Swordsman for Jacob Tanner, and that has been a real joy to get to work on that series. It's so interesting. Book 6 is out. I haven't prepped book 6. It's the final book in the series, and I'm on pins and needles to find out how he's going to wrap this series up. It's been really a real enjoyment for me to get to work on this series. And I really like the character that he created, Sam, at the beginning, like to the head of the MC of the series is a really good guy, and I really like him. And I like all of the side characters. Have been really fun to play with and get to work with. He always sets me new challenges with different worlds and different people. And I really get a joy out of creating some fun voices for some of the crazy characters that he lets me play around with. And he gives me a bunch that I can give really challenging voices for my vocal cords and stuff, because they'll have like 2 or 3 lines and then they die. And unlike what Ryan DeBruin does when I say, hey, can I give this guy a really crazy voice? And he goes, yeah, sure. I'm like, he's dead, right? And he's like, yeah, he's dead. Totally. I says, awesome. Okay. I'm going to give him a really crazy voice. And then the next book comes out in the series and that guy is resurrected and has entire monologues. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, oh yeah, right. I did tell you that. Sorry.
Oh no, he knows.
You'll be fine.
He knows. He's doing that for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that before. So, so we have a lot of stuff in the chat here about wanting to hear you with an Irish voice. So I have to give that to our fans here before we say goodbye. So Steve, can you say my final line? Right. This is something that I would say at the end of the podcast. Would you mind reading that in an Irish accent?
I can give it my best shot.
Right. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I know. Join us next time on this. Oh, let me try that.
That's all good.
This is what it's going to
better
like.
Than mine.
Now you're getting a sample of what it's like for me when I have to read stuff, because fuck it up constantly. Join us next time on the podcast with TJ Lombardi on December 21st. I have to do this again. Join us next time on the podcast with TJ Lombardi on December 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Very good. Thank you. It's so much better than me saying it. So guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. This was a lot of fun. And I wish we could talk for another hour.
I appreciate it. It's been great.
Yep. I'm happy to be here. It's been so much fun.
And thank you for getting me to surprise Ryan. That was fun. I had to keep my mouth shut for the last little while and not say anything. And it was like, because we were in Discord and I'm like, I wanted to say something and I'm like, I can't say that. And I can't say that either. And so I had to I'm sure he's like, why is Steve acting so weird lately?
You're at IKEA. That's
yeah.
all.
Well, I actually was at IKEA earlier. We had just gotten back so that we had to get back in time for this. And so I wasn't technically lying. It just was like time delayed on when I was actually there. So
a little Bed Bath and Beyond, Yeah. All right, guys, I'm really going to go. Thank you to everybody in chat, and we'll see you next time for TJ Lombardi.
Thank you.
All right.